A homeless girl risks her life to pull a man from a burning car. But at the hospital, what he confesses turns her world upside down because he's not just a millionaire, he's the father she never knew. Before starting the story, make sure to subscribe the channel so that you don't miss any update in future. The car exploded in flames, and a barefoot girl ran straight into the fire. Next 10 seconds, curiosity built. People screamed. No one dared go near. But she didn't stop. Her arms were shaking. Her heart? Pounding like a war drum. She didn't even know his name. But something deep inside told her. He can't die. Not him. The sun was setting behind the ruined skyline of Detroit. The streets were empty, cold, and cracked, just like the life 14-year-old Eliza had known since birth. She was used to sleeping on benches, washing in public fountains, and eating whatever scraps the world forgot. But that night, something changed. She was walking past the gas station near 9th and Riverbank, where old cars lined up for cheap fuel. That's when the sound shattered the air. A deafening crash, followed by flames bursting into the sky. A silver Mustang had slammed into a pole and burst into fire, metal groaning like it was alive. People gathered frozen. Phones were out, sirens were distant. Inside the burning wreck, a man. And no one moved. Eliza's instincts kicked in. She didn't think. She didn't wait. She ran. Through smoke. Through the heat that scorched her arms. Through the screams telling her to stop. She yanked the door. It wouldn't budge. The window was cracked but not shattered. Inside, she saw him. A man in a suit. Bloody forehead. Eyes barely open. Whispering, "Help me." With everything she had, she picked up a broken pipe and smashed the glass. The flames licked closer. She reached in, arms burning, grabbed the seatbelt, stuck. "Eliza, move," someone finally shouted. But she wasn't going anywhere. She climbed halfway in, coughing, grabbing, sobbing. And somehow, she dragged him out one limb at a time until they both collapsed on the pavement, smoke swallowing the sky behind them. Sirens finally wailed. EMTs rushed in. "She's just a kid," a paramedic shouted. Eliza's hands were blistered. Her clothes were soaked in blood, ash, and gasoline. "Get her to county. Burn unit. Now." But she wasn't listening. She kept staring at the man she'd saved. The way his chest rose and fell. The way his silver watch gleamed even through the soot. Something about him felt familiar. Like a painting she'd seen once in a shelter lobby. A face you couldn't forget. They were rushed to the same hospital. Same wing. And that's where things began to twist. In room 206, Eliza sat in a gown 3 sizes too big, staring out the window. Nurses cleaned her arms and dabbed burn cream gently across her hands. "You're lucky," one of them said. "That was insane what you did. You saved a man's life." She nodded quietly. "Is he okay?" The nurse smiled. "Unconscious, but stable. Doctors think he'll wake up soon." Eliza whispered, Can I see him?" The nurse hesitated, then nodded. "Room 210, just down the hall." Eliza stepped in. Machines beeped steadily. The room smelled like antiseptic and fire. He lay still, breathing through a mask. Bandaged forehead. For drip in his arm. Her eyes scanned him. His suit jacket was hanging on the chair nearby, burned on the edges. She looked closer. Something glinted in the inner pocket. A small silver locket. She pulled it out slowly, fingers trembling. It looked expensive. Engraved. She opened it. Inside, one side had a photo of a woman. Brown hair. Big eyes. Eliza's breath caught. The other side? A baby photo. Of her. She dropped the locket like it burned her all over again. What is this?" she whispered. Just then, he stirred. The machines beeped faster. His fingers twitched. His eyes opened slowly, bloodshot, heavy, but awake. His gaze locked on her. "Eliza," he rasped. Her name in his mouth was a gunshot to her chest. "How do you know my name?" He tried to sit up. Groaned in pain. "Because I gave it to you." Her knees buckled. She gripped the edge of the bed. No, you're mistaken. My mother, she died when I was 7. She told me nothing. I don't even know who my father is." "I am," he said, barely above a whisper. "I'm your father, Eliza." And just like that, everything she thought she knew was nothing. She stood frozen. Outside, the nurses rushed in. "Sir, you need to rest." But he grabbed her hand before they could push him back. "Please, don't leave me again." Eliza's lips parted, but no words came out. Not yet. Because in that moment, one truth had burned through the fire, the chaos, the years. She didn't just save a stranger. She'd saved the man whose blood ran in her veins. A man who once left and had no idea his little girl would one day drag him out of death itself. The silence in the room was louder than the sirens from last night. Eliza sat in the corner, knees pulled to her chest, staring at the floor like it held answers the world refused to give her. The locket still trembled in her hands, its chain tangled around her fingers like it refused to let go, just like the past now refused to leave her alone. Across the room, the man lay quietly in the hospital bed, his eyes watching her like someone studying a ghost. Because to him, that's what she was. A ghost from a life he buried years ago. "I'm sorry," he said softly, his voice raspy. I never thought I'd see you again. And certainly not like this." She didn't respond. Her throat burned. Her arms still hurt from the fire. But nothing compared to the heat now burning behind her eyes. "You left her," she whispered. He blinked. "Eliza, you left my mom. You left me. Do you know what it's like to sleep on swings in a freezing playground? Do you know what it's like to beg for food at 13? To count the days by how many shoes you've worn through?" Tears began dripping down her cheeks, quiet, uncontrollable. He didn't speak. Because every word she said was true. And worse, he had no defense. "I looked for you," he finally said. "For years. After your mother disappeared, I hired private investigators, contacted shelters, everything. Then why didn't you find me?" she snapped. He looked down, jaw tight. "Because she changed your name. Moved cities. She didn't want me to find you." Eliza froze. He met her eyes. "She left me without a word, Eliza. I loved her. I loved you. But when I woke up one morning and the crib was empty, so was the house. I thought I was going crazy." She blinked, heart thudding. She told me you didn't want us." He shook his head slowly, painfully. "She lied." The words hit like a hammer. "I was young," he continued. "Selfish, maybe. But I never stopped caring. I kept the locket. Every year on your birthday, I wore it. I didn't know if you were alive. And then last night." He paused, choking slightly. "You saved me. Not just from that fire. From a life where I thought I'd lost everything." Eliza turned away. The tears wouldn't stop. But they were different now. Confused. Raw. "Why did she leave?" she whispered. "I don't know," he replied. "She had secrets. Pain I never understood. But whatever her reasons were, losing you broke me." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then she stood slowly. Her legs shook under her. "I need air." She turned and walked out the room, heart pounding in her ears. And he didn't stop her. Because he knew. This was just the beginning of everything broken, slowly trying to find its shape again. She wandered down the hallway, nurses brushing past, fluorescent lights humming above her. Her mind spun in circles. Was he lying? Was it true? Could it even matter? She walked until she found the waiting lounge empty, dim, silent. She sat down and stared at her reflection in the glass. She didn't recognize herself anymore. 15 minutes passed before someone joined her. Not him. A nurse. The same one from earlier. "Eliza," the nurse said gently. She nodded without looking. "There's something you should know." The nurse sat beside her and pulled out a folder. "I probably shouldn't show you this," she whispered. "But I saw the locket too. And I saw the way he looked at you." Eliza turned. Inside the folder were hospital documents. The man's name, Grayson Hale. Multimillionaire investor. Owner of 3 companies. The same name she'd seen on billboards and news banners. She had no idea she'd saved someone that important. But that wasn't what shocked her. The nurse flipped to the last page. "Next of kin," she read softly. "Daughter, Eliza Hale." Eliza's eyes widened. Her full name was Eliza Monroe. Or at least that's what she thought. Until now. He listed you, the nurse said. Years ago. Never removed it. The folder closed. Eliza stood up, dizzy. She walked back toward the room. Back to the man who called himself her father. Back to the truth that burned worse than fire. When she stepped in again, he was sitting up this time, barely, but awake. Their eyes met. She took a deep breath. I don't forgive you, she said. I know, he whispered. But I need to know everything. And you're going to tell me? He nodded, lips trembling. Everything. And just like that, the girl who pulled him from the fire was now ready to pull every secret out of the ashes. Not as a stranger, but as a daughter finally reclaiming the story of her life. Grayson sat still, almost afraid to breathe, as Eliza pulled a chair closer to his hospital bed. Her face was calm now, but it was the kind of calm that follows a storm you haven't survived yet. Her eyes, however, were anything but calm. They demanded answers. They burned. You said she lied, Eliza began slowly. That my mom took me away. That she vanished. Why would she do that? Grayson looked down at his hands, bruised, burned, shaking slightly. I don't know, he said. But there's something I kept. Something I never showed anyone. He reached toward the drawer by his bedside and pulled out a thin envelope, slightly yellowed with time. Her mother's name, Marie, was scrawled across it in soft cursive. I found this 3 months after she left, he said quietly. Folded inside the baby blanket you used to sleep with. I never understood why she wrote it. Or what she was running from. But maybe now you should see it. Eliza took the letter with hesitant fingers. Her heart thumped as she unfolded it. And then, she read, Grayson, by the time you read this, we'll be gone. Please don't look for us. Not because I don't love you. I do. But because I can't let Eliza grow up around your world. You think your money protects people. But I know better. I've seen how power corrupts. I've seen what your father did, and how you buried it. Eliza won't be another name in a scandal. Not on my watch. She deserves better than secrets, Grayson. Even if it costs me everything. Her fingers tightened around the page. What scandal? She asked, voice sharp. Grayson looked up at her, a crack in his expression that hadn't been there before. My father, he said after a long pause. He ran the company before I did. And for decades, he was untouchable. But behind closed doors, there were lawsuits. Payoffs. Silence. He exhaled. His voice dropped. He hurt people, Eliza. Women. Employees. My mom included. Eliza's stomach turned. I found out when I was in college. I tried to confront him. Tried to expose it. But every time I came close, someone would disappear. A journalist lost her job. A friend's brakes failed. It wasn't just power. It was fear. Her hands went cold. And you did nothing? She asked. I walked away from the family name. Started over. Built my own company. But by then, Marie had already seen too much. She didn't trust that I could protect her. And maybe she was right. Eliza felt like the hospital room was shrinking. Every breath was harder than the last. So she ran to protect me. He nodded. And you let her go? No, he said, his voice cracking. I chased her. But she knew how to disappear. I had people searching for years. When I finally found a clue, it was too late. A small obituary in a paper 4 states away. No mention of a child. Just a Jane Doe with a heart condition. Eliza's mouth dropped slightly. I was 12 when she died, she whispered. We were living in a shelter. She had chest pains for days, but she kept saying it was fine. One night, she just didn't wake up. Grayson's eyes filled with tears. I didn't even get to say goodbye, he murmured. They both sat in silence for a long moment. The weight of years pressing down on them like a storm cloud refusing to rain. Finally, Eliza broke it. She made me promise never to trust anyone with money, she said, a bitter smile forming. Said rich people break things they don't know how to fix. Grayson gave a small, broken laugh. She wasn't wrong. Eliza stood and walked to the window. Below, the city buzzed, cars moved, lights flickered. People passed by completely unaware that a girl had just found her father after losing everything else. I hated you, she whispered, still staring out the glass. Even before I knew your name. I hated the idea of you. The man who left. The man who could have saved us. I hated me too, he said softly. She turned slowly. But then you said something. Something I can't stop thinking about. He looked up, questioning. You said, I saved you. From more than the fire. He nodded, eyes gentle. You did. She took a step closer. I think maybe I needed to save you. Because I've been carrying around this weight for so long. Rage. Emptiness. All because I thought I was unwanted. But maybe, deep down, I just wanted to know if someone out there ever missed me. Grayson's voice broke. Every day. Eliza blinked hard. The tears came back, this time without resistance. And now, she asked. What happens now? He reached for her hand. Now, we build something new. If you'll let me. She didn't pull away. But she didn't say yes either. Because healing wasn't instant. Trust wasn't immediate. But something inside her, a quiet flicker, began to warm for the first time in years. I'm not calling you Dad, she said. He smiled faintly. That's fair. And I'm not forgiving you yet. Also fair. But I'm here. And I want to know who I am. Grayson looked at her like she was made of gold and flame and everything precious the world tried to throw away. Then let's start with that. Outside, a nurse peeked in and smiled at the sight. A billionaire with burn scars, holding the hand of the girl who dragged him out of a fire. And maybe, just maybe, into something that looked a little like hope. 3 weeks passed. The hospital walls no longer felt like a prison. Eliza had recovered enough to walk, even run again. Her burns were healing, her hands less raw, and the nurses had started smiling when they saw her coming. But inside, she was still figuring out what healing even meant. Grayson had been discharged 2 days earlier. Not in a wheelchair, not with a press conference. Quietly. Just as quietly as he had almost died. He offered her his home. 12 bedrooms, marble floors, views of the lake. But Eliza refused. She needed time. So she stayed at the hospital's recovery wing until she figured out what to do next. One morning, a nurse handed her a sealed envelope. No name, she said. But it's for you. Eliza opened it. Inside was a handwritten note in her father's messy, uneven scrawl. There's something I need you to see. Not in a boardroom. Not in a hospital. Where the truth really lives. If you're ready, come to the place written below. At the bottom, just an address. No signature. No explanation. But Eliza already knew this was the moment. That evening, she stood in front of an old iron gate, surrounded by windswept trees and falling leaves. The sun was low, bleeding into the horizon. The sign beside her read, Greenhaven Cemetery. She pushed the gate open and walked through slowly, the gravel crunching beneath her sneakers. Grayson was already there, dressed simply. No suits, no Rolex. Just a man standing in front of a gravestone with fresh flowers placed beneath it. As she approached, her steps slowed. She saw the name carved in marble. Marie Monroe. Beloved mother. Fierce protector. Gone too soon. Eliza didn't speak. She just stared. This is where I come every year, Grayson said quietly, still facing the stone. Since I found out. I never told anyone. Not the press. Not my lawyers. Just me and her. And you. Eliza knelt beside the grave. The earth was soft. The petals on the roses still held morning dew. I haven't been to her grave since the day they buried her, she whispered. There wasn't even a proper headstone back then. Just a plastic tag in the ground. I changed that, he said. Once I found out. I owed her more than just silence. They stood together in the hush of fading light. She was strong, Eliza said. Even when she was scared. She never let me see it. She told me bedtime stories even when we were sleeping in a train station. She gave up everything to protect you, he replied. And she died believing you never wanted us. Grayson swallowed hard. I live with that every day. Eliza looked at the grave one last time, then turned toward him. She didn't get to see me grow up. I know. She never saw me write my first poem. Or win my first fight at school. Or walk through a fire to save a man she hated. Grayson blinked slowly, pain etched across his face. But I did, he said. And I don't plan on missing another moment. Not if you let me stay. Eliza reached into her pocket and pulled out the locket. The same one she had found the night of the fire. The one that once made her question everything. Now it held something new. She opened it. On one side was the same picture of her mother. But on the other side, she'd replaced her baby photo. It was a picture from last week. Her and Grayson, sitting on a bench outside the hospital. He had one arm around her shoulder. She was mid-laugh. And for the first time in a long, long time, she didn't look lost. She looked found. She held the locket out toward him. I kept it, she said. But I made a change. He took it gently, saw the new photo. And when his eyes met hers again, they were full of something deeper than gratitude. They were full of love. I don't know if I can be the kind of father you needed, he said softly. But I can be the kind you deserve. The kind who shows up. The kind who stays. Eliza nodded, fighting the lump in her throat. We can start small, she said. You don't have to buy me a mansion. He laughed. Good, he said. Because I was thinking more along the lines of pancakes? She raised an eyebrow. You cook. I own a dozen restaurants, he grinned. I've at least watched pancakes happen. She smiled. And for the first time in a long time, it wasn't forced. As they walked back toward the gate, side by side, the wind picked up. Leaves danced around them. The grave stood behind them, still and quiet. But the pain buried there had been shared now. Spoken. Faced. And that made all the difference. Just before they reached the exit, Eliza stopped. Wait, she said. Grayson turned. She reached out and took his hand. I still don't know if I'm ready to call you Dad. That's okay. But I'm ready to try. His hand squeezed hers. And, just like that, they walked forward. Two people once burned by fate, now lighting the way forward together. Sometimes, the people we're meant to find in life come to us in the most unexpected ways, through fire, pain, and broken truths. But healing begins the moment we choose to stop running from the past and start reaching for the future, no matter how scarred it may be. Because even the deepest wounds can become the beginning of something beautiful, if we're brave enough to face them.